Okay, I'm going to go ahead and send the feed your way. Have a great show.
Thank you.
Are you ready for the golden age? The Quantum Galaxy Network presents Making Life Brighter on the Voice America Variety Channel, where we prepare you and the planet for the golden age. Making Life Brighter features experts in their field and visionaries sharing their unique keys for sustainability on Earth, including all cutting-edge healing modalities, consciousness training, and natural healing. Tune in every Thursday for valuable golden nuggets of universal harmony and coherency with body, mind, and spirit. Each week, Winifred introduces you to thought leaders, best-selling authors, influencers, and Grammy Award-winning musicians. Making Life Brighter is your source for inspiring us to live in cooperation and purpose as we prepare for the golden age and beyond. The Quantum Galaxy Network invites you to join Making Life Brighter as we prepare for the golden age. Making Life Brighter is your forum for healing, inspiring, and uplifting entertainment. Here is your host, Winifred Adams.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're going jolly out there today. We are going jolly here on the Variety Channel at Making Life Brighter on Voice America. And we have another great show for you today. Last week, we did a deep dive into shape-shifting and time, right? So Full Colon Russell - J. Colon Gould says time is no more, according to what he did in altering the now space. And we are coming into that place. And after all, we here at Making Life Brighter are dedicated to preparing you and the planet for the golden age. And there's so much that's happening out there. It's very cool. It's very, very cool. For those of you that have never heard of Billy Carson, you might want to look him up. He's doing a special show on the Emerald Tablets and the energy of the Emerald Tablets, and I think that's cool. I met him last year at a Gaia event at Gaia in Boulder, Colorado. I was guest of one of the speakers, Brad Olson, there. And at that event, I got to meet Billy and listen to him do his worldwide presentation. Fascinating guy, and loved his book on the Emerald Tablets. He's definitely on to a thread and a trail that is for sure true. I have long been using the Grail codes in my healing work, and that's a mathematical interface of the quantum and the quantum language. And they are kind of stumbling on to some of those things now in terms of what that is and how to explain that and go further in terms of what's happening in this amazing time frame in our world. Our world is taking off. Actually, it's coming back, to be honest. It's merging. And according to Billy in that talk anyway, the Milky Way galaxy is merging into another galaxy. So now they're discovering all these new planets, these new moons, and these things that have never been there before. But actually, it's because we're sort of being eaten up. We're eating up another fringe galaxy, and it's coming together. So what we used to know is old hat at this point, and where we're heading to is all new. It's new dimensionally, it's new in frequency, it's new in experience to Earthlings. Probably not so much to the more advanced technologies of space people, but remember, there's a lineup to have a body on Earth, and the lineup is really, it's quite special. So those of us that are here, that have this opportunity in this window of time, we might take heed to stop fighting over red and blue, because that's not really the answer anymore. That was all changed in 1999. And we may want to just value having a place in the play here on Earth at this time in history. And the colors of political party are not as important as the bigger play out of the transshipment wars that are going on, which control the portals, which control the ins and outs of currencies. And currency is a real thing. So where the currencies are, let's say, affected, we have an opportunity to stop and correct so that it can find its own harmonic balance again. And there's no better place to be than in your own vessel, because you are the captain of that vessel. And that vessel does have a place in space and time. You are not lost, dead and lost at sea, according to how the governments want to see you. You are, in fact, a live, living being with birthright and the jurisdiction of the God birthright. And some people say, oh, you can't use the word God, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, if you have been at the feet of a master, if you've been at the feet of an enlightened one, you might not worry so much about the word God, because you would have the experience and the frequency of such an overwhelming, humbling, profound experience that that word simply sums up an energy field that you can't even comprehend with your mind. So imagine trying to hold the light of a billion suns in your body. Most that wish for that and try that get blown out because their circuitry can't hold that. There are always a few that can hold that on this earth plane, that are here and that walk around here. And they do great service to mankind, though you'll never know it. It's a very lucky man that gets to interface with one. And it is a divine birthright that you get to go home and merge with the Creator as well. So coming to Earth is a very special thing, and that we might not lose sight of that very special opportunity to serve ourselves while we're in this vehicle here experiencing Earth, and also to serve fellow mankind, because our fellow mankind is being suggested to at the moment, both in the subspace, in the frequency, in the radio waves, in the 5G, in everything. And that suggestion is altering people's perception, both of themselves and of others. And we don't need any more rogue suggestions of what somebody's intent is or isn't, or something like that. We just need to be. And being of loving service to one another, I believe, is a better answer than spending time arguing over who's red and who's blue, and if there is in fact deep state and not. We have something greater, and the time is quickening. So best that we focus our attentions on who we be and how we optimize within this vehicle. I would like to talk a little bit about what we've gone over, like last week on the show. And we were talking about the time jumping, the time traveling, and how it's kind of a folding of time. And I just want to touch on what I call, well, what Russell calls the now hyphen space, but let's call it 0 point. Okay, so the 0 point is the oneness with Creator, that space of stasis. And though when someone reaches the 0 point, they feel kind of a stayed bliss, they feel a sweetness, a relaxation that's so profound, you can't really put words to it. But when you're entering into that now space, what I find continually in healing is that when I'm helping people through serious trauma, and we're doing trauma healing or trauma therapy, what will happen is the past will begin to fold into that now space as we're working. And so taking that past and cleansing the past, the bloodlines, the lineage, everything, and folding it into the now space helps absorb even some of the karmas of the ancestry. And that gets transmuted in the now space, in that neutral space. But what is that now space? So that now space at the most profound level is a frequency of harmonic, and that word, that sound, because everything is sound, is really the sound of love. And so the sound of love is the sweetest. It is the most profound. And it's not necessarily a sound you hear, though one can hear sound, because there is music of the spheres for real. And it can be a guiding light for you if you focus and study that way. But more importantly, the 0 point, that balance point, is a sound harmonic frequency, and that frequency brings you into a beautiful position of oneness. of sweetness, of love. That love frequency, within it, you need nothing, nothing more. You want nothing, you desire nothing. There's nothing more to have or be because it's complete. Everything outside of a love frequency or the complete love frequency always has somebody desiring something. So the desire may be spirit-led inspiration, or it may be actually a kind of, how do I say? I don't want to say willfulness, but it's not always, just that the ego brain suggests things all the time. So in the suggestion, you're being suggested to from the subspace right now around you, and you're being suggested by the collective thought patterns. You're being suggested to by TV, you're being suggested by society, you're being suggested in every way. If you turn all of that off and didn't have that, and you escaped from that for a bit, you would begin to hear yourself more. And in hearing yourself, soon you would realize there's really nothing more you need. And in that more, whatever is inspired comes through. And somehow that's perfectly in alignment with whatever interactions you need to have with whomever you come in contact with. So let's say you suddenly feel the inspiration, you need to go get an orange at the store. And when you go to the store and you get the orange, there stands someone you haven't seen in a while, or someone strikes up a conversation with you, and it turns out it's the very person you would need to connect with next. These types of synchronicities are something that have been profound in my life, my own life, all the way along. I mean, really profound, to the point where it really sets you on your heels like, wow, okay, I see that, I get that. And it can be both a safeguard and it can be a momentum. Though in that most beautiful, loving 0 point now hyphen space, when you have that sweetness, you have a stillness. And the stillness is what is allowing the harmonic to come through you, open your heart, and bring your spirit into alignment with you. This stillness is then allowing all of your body systems to come into harmony as well. That's where the healing happens. That's where the quantum healing takes place. It does not happen in tension. It does not happen in chaos. It doesn't happen in ego mind thinking. It happens in the empty space. So to endeavor to get to that empty space within is the key. And that empty space is a relaxed, quiet, still state of being. That quiet space lends to everything and all possibilities in the universe simultaneously. It is something that is profoundly important for any healing on any level in any biological being. Simultaneously, it can also be healing on a soul level. And since we are dimensional, multi-dimensional beings, we scale 10 feet tall, 10 feet wide, covering multiple dimensional frequencies and vibrating in those frequencies in altered realities at once. However, when you line them up gently and you get them into stasis, into sort of a coordinated alignment, suddenly things rearrange and miraculous things can happen. See, we think that on Earth, where we just see one-dimensional reality, meaning just the 3D dimension, we think that that's all there is, when in fact on the 4th dimension, the 5th dimension, and beyond, other things are being worked out in your subconscious and in your soul. But you don't always know that consciously in this being, in this vehicle. So it's kind of archaic and a little bit immature for us to think that flying off to Mars and flying into space and putting yourself at jeopardy or at risk in kind of daredevil-y opportunities would benefit you because you need to go out and see what's out there. When in fact, everything that's out there is within you, literally within you, scientifically within you. And the entire Akashic record, the entire history of the cosmos is available to you within you. The only thing that is needed is an empty space and the availability to go within so that you can graduate to and receive access to those dimensional fields and frequencies that allow you entry. You see, we always think that we can have everything we want. And society here, including the cabal, has always trained you that you can have whatever you want, ask for it. So then you become addicted to needing, wanting, have to have, instant gratification, etc. But what's lacking in that is the reward of discovery. And the reward of discovery is what is giving you the availability to have access to higher information or more in-depth spirit soul knowledge. And people say, well, knowledge is key. I'd say knowledge is key, but if you don't know what to do with it, it's not a key, is it? If you don't have the fortitude and the comprehension of how to drive a car when you're 2 years old, where are you going? What are you going to do? You'll put others in harm's way. That's a fact. So there's a lot of wannabe healers and people and spiritual people, they call themselves spiritual, imposing their 2-year-old beliefs on a lot of other people that are sincerely looking for information or, let's say, a way through. And the only way through is for you to quietly, humbly, and sincerely wait on God or the all that is energy that's out there and find your still space. Your still space is in that beautiful 0-point harmony field. That then, step by step, gives you not only healing, but the access to other things. Now, in the modalities that I work with, I use tapping quite a bit to shave off a lot of what's in the way so you can get there more easily. You can get there quicker. And then you learn to hold that space because you don't have all the ego mind chatter in the way, interrupting the quiet. If you don't do that, you'll always have the ego mind chatter interrupting the quiet and suggesting more to you. And then most people are confused. Well, who's really talking? Who's the one that I trust inside? Who's talking? And in fact, you know in your heart of hearts when it's sincere and when it's bogus. So for you to sit in that still space and be with that, that is the number one way in which you will find your harmony. Now we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I have some good examples for you, and we're going to deep dive a little bit more on this spiritual journey today. This is going to be really cool when we come back. So stay tuned. You're listening to Making Life Brighter Radio, and I'm your host, Winifred Adams, and we have a beautiful show for you today. We'll be right back.
One man is growing old and one man is being told that.
Welcome back to Making Life Brighter with host and leading medical intuitive Winifred Adams on the Voice America Variety Channel, your preferred choice for conscious education and entertainment, featuring experts in their field and visionaries preparing the planet for the golden age and beyond. For more information, visit us at makinglifebrighter.com in the media section. Be sure to like us on Facebook at Making Life Brighter. If you have questions or comments, please email us at radio@makinglifebrighter.com. That's radio@makinglifebrighter.com. And now, back to the show with your host, Winifred Adams.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thanks for tuning in here at Making Life Brighter. And you can also find the shows, including other shows, on YouTube at Making Life Brighter. And you can follow along on Twitter at Winifred Adams, and definitely like and follow on Facebook under Making Life Brighter. And that way you can see what's upcoming and anything that's happening there. So jumping back in, we're talking about the value of your life and the value of your vehicle today, and how to come to that still point for healing and also making the most of your experience here in this earth plane. How is it that you value your world, your vehicle, your body, even another body? How do you value that? You see, right now, the narrative that's going on in this world, in the popular culture, is primarily a narrative of disparaging another by action or word or deed. And this is hopefully to pull out a stark contrast of what people call fraud and so on. But the real fraud is going on inside of us. The real fraud is where the ego mind has hijacked people, where they think they need to be codependent on a substance in order to be okay or still, or they're codependent on something that has them outside of stillness. The codependency of anything, whether it's your necklace, your crystals, your anything that you're taking, as long as there's an attachment to it for an outcome, then you have a codependency going on. Now, it's natural to endeavor something with great discipline for a while, and that endeavor, such as using a tool like a crystal or using minerals and supplements as a healing agent for you and deep diving into that, that has its purpose. But as soon as it becomes an attachment where you have to have it beyond anything else, now the ego also has jurisdiction in it. So you want to take that back out and become detached again and just say, thank you. Thank you for the use of the tool. Thank you for the use of the supplements. Thank you for the ability to get up today and to walk and to see and to smell and to feel and to experience life on earth. You see, every minute that you're here is masterful. Every minute is meaningful. And coming into optimizing this body, this vehicle, this time frame is perhaps more important than anything else. And we have such big challenges in mankind. Yet all challenges, no matter how big or small, can always be met when the spirit is put in the forefront. So as the spirit is brought forward and the value of the quietude in the now and the 0 point in the loving harmonic space of your open heart is put forth, this is the ultimate elixir to manage this time frame upcoming. I want to share with you some things that extend from last week's show into this. I'm going to start with an excerpt from a very ancient master, one that had merged with the all that is creator, one that was an enlightened being similar to Christ on earth. And for those that think that Christ was the only enlightened being on earth, that's just not true. Have been many. There have always been advanced souls on this planet, thank God. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have one. And they do great, great work on this planet at all times. Just that Christ had a giant imprint in time for people to carry over, to help people all throughout this time. But here's one of those ancient masters and some words that come forth out of a prayer book that I wanted to share. I thought this was fascinating and I wanted you to hear it. When once this contact with Nam is established, Nam meaning the holy elixir of spirit at one of the top realms, the student will say, always feels the presence of the higher power, and the power remains forever with him, wherever he may be. So in other words, once you establish that real, true spiritual connection at the most profound level, you are never then forsaken or left alone. wherever they may be, on the snowy mountaintops or in the burning desert sands, revealing in the greatness of that power, he, the student, leaves all his cares to him, the master energy, the God power, and becomes indifferent to everything around him. In other words, not polarized by the popular culture that's going on around him. He cheerfully accepts whatever comes his way as coming from him, coming from God, coming from the great energy of the highest spiritual loving space, and for his benefit alone. In other words, that soul knows he's being looked after and taken care of on every level, that he is accounted for on every level. And that's a really important thing to keep in mind at this juncture in time, because many people will be skewed in their thinking by the subspace and other things, having them doubt. This doubt is what really harms people. So when you become attuned, when you put your time into being attuned, now you have less doubt, okay? So he cheerfully accepts whatever comes his way as coming from him for his benefit alone. He consciously sees the divine will at work and smilingly surrenders himself to it with words of genuine gratitude on his lips. He has no longer any wishes and desires of his own except what may be of God. Now he works as a mere instrument, moving like an autonom under the influence of that power. He sees all creatures, high and low, just as tiny specks set in an orderly harmony in the immense universe surrounding him. He now divines a procession which is orderly, an order which is harmonious, obeying a will infinitely above him and yet infinitesimally careful of him. In other words, it's always considering him. And the more his heart is open to that infinite, organized, loving power, then the organization also comes back as a mirror reflection and organizes the energy around him. And in this way is established a complete harmony between the soul of man and the soul of the universe. At every step, he cries forth, "Let thy will be done." In other words, let the more organized energy organize this situation. Let the more organized intelligence of universal harmony handle this situation. And here is a quote by this Guru Nanak that I'm pulling from here. All creatures, the highest to the lowest, are at thy mercy, and thou carest for them one and all. Whatever pleaseth thee, that is best. Nanak has no other wish but this. Whatever pleaseth thee is good. Thou art forevermore, O formless one. Remember I said about the light of the billion suns. That's the formless one. You can't possibly imagine what you can't hold on to. Therefore, interestingly enough, Full Colon Russell J. Colon Gould has always said to me in the interviews about the coming times and speaking about the people themselves. His comment was, you can have what you can hold. That's an interesting contemplation, because in this, same thing. You can't have more than you can hold. If your body does not take in more light, you can't get more light. So it behooves you to become still in that space, to become harmonious with that nameless light so that you can take in more light. And what happens is automatically your DNA begins to expand and evolve. Therefore, your telomeres reach out more and you can hold more light. You can hold more harmonic in your being. This is vital. This is an important concept and construct that speaks to healing as well. And in this time, we're going to need it. Now, going back to our family of light that we've been talking about all along with Barbara Marciniak, I want to read to you a long excerpt, but this has profound meaning in what we're discussing today. And a show like today's show is something to go back and listen to again and kind of contemplate, because it's rich with many different tenets of thought, which are actually truth. And they say here in the book, Family of Light, do not be frightened of these times of change. If the words and concepts seem foreign to some of you, then remember your ancestors of 500 years ago, when a whole new world was opening for them as well. For hundreds of years afterward, they traveled in ships on the oceans, still wondering if the great beasts of legends would arise and devour them. Some of the voyagers saw the movement of objects from the future in and out of the waters at night. But these mysteries were kept very quiet. If they spoke of such things, the label of insanity was quickly laid on them. The last 500 years were times of great expansion. However, there was also an immense control over how you would perceive this expansion. In reflecting upon your ancestors throughout time, we ask you to open to your genetic inheritance and to consider without judgment the challenges your ancestors faced. From the top of the mountain that you've climbed, know that you are at the pinnacle of comprehension for now. So what conclusions do you draw? What is the total of your knowledge? And do your wisdom and living flourish? That's an interesting one. I like that. Do your wisdom and living flourish? I think we're being distracted and we're being chitty-chatty on the red and blue narratives. And we are forgetting that every moment of every day is a precious moment in your life, right where you are, wherever you may be, however you may be. And the more you put focus to that light, the more things get rearranged around you for the betterment of all people, if your heart is in the right place. And it doesn't necessarily take a boisterous narrative. The dragons of renown are nameless creatures, but they are not formless. They have many personalities and are shapeshifters who embody a magnificent force. You have a similar force in your body, however, it is disavowed, beaten, or enslaved, rarely encouraged to develop. Your traditions call this force the fire of life, the flame of existence, and the kundalini, or the inner serpent that rises within you. All traditions speak of and weave their meanings in symbolic interpretations around the legends of your ancestors, the great reptiles and dragons. Now, some people will take umbrage with this and have a cow. Well, we don't want the reptilians. We don't want that. Well, you can't deny what is. So listen. Now, imagine that these creatures live around you and they have not been visible to your eye because they live in other dimensions and domains. The electromagnetic spectrum, the band of existence, houses them right next to your address, yet you cannot see them. Earlier, we suggested taking any nanosecond, a billionth of a second, as you count time, and bring it down to find 25 years worth of living. Break down a nanosecond to find 25 years worth of living. That's an interesting formula. You may think you may think the place is empty. Yet in actuality, it is where the dragons dwell, where the ancient reptilian lineage that is your inheritance calls home. So will you build a technology that breaks down time to examine your own seconds and discover new frontiers and territories within nanoseconds? Wouldn't that be being responsible in the now time? If you accomplish this feat, have compassion for what you experience. In addition, vistas of reality may appear to you, and you will think them distinctively alive and real, as if you turned a dial to find yourself poised in another world. And yet you will know without a doubt that you are located in the late 20th century or early 21st century Earth. This experience will become commonplace and may create many casualties. Some people will be very frightened for their sanity, even if they have joyous experiences. You must encourage the exploration within and create a vibration of safety. Now, boy, do I stand on that one. I think that's very important. Whatever your spiritual journey is right now, whatever the unfolding is that you discover, to keep coming back to what makes you feel safe and secure and at ease and still is key. Because much will be revealed and revealing no matter what it is, and you need to be neutral. An exquisite opportunity exists through the services of the fiduciary to enliven and uplift your spirit. This is interesting. So really your spirit's calling you back home at this time, and yet you're going through a window of time that's never happened before. So the experiential up-leveling of frequency requires a shift in your frequency, and you may experience different dimensional frequencies as you go through that shift. You will strive for this fulfillment when you decode the number 13 and see the 26,000 year precession cycle divided by 13 rather than 12. The missing 13th slice was always there, just like the 13 moons. We ask you to consider that the numbers 12 and 13 mean much more than you have understood, and we will assure you of that. Through language and numbers, everything is coded, backward and forward, kind of like the quantum language, right? Forward and back, it's a fact. As you learn to read energy, you will recognize it as your inheritance of power. And as you become managers of energy, which is what people are really learning right now, how to manage their energy, you will see the aliveness and the purposefulness of existence. And that deception cannot hold truth. In other words, nothing can deceive you at that point in time. You will be the knower of that truth. And what you may ask is truth? Truth is where no secrets are kept. That is truth. We'll be right back. You're listening to Making Life Brighter Radio. We've got much more.
One man is growing old and one man is being told that
You are listening to Making Life Brighter, a presentation by the Quantum Galaxy Network for the Variety Channel on Voice America, featuring visionaries, thought leaders, and consciousness experts leading the way as we prepare the planet for the golden age and beyond. Right here on Making Life Brighter Radio with your host, leading medical intuitive Winifred Adams. Be sure to download the app. For more information, go to makinglifebrighter.com under media. Now, back to the show with your host, Winifred Adams.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for listening to Making Life Brighter. And I'm your host, Winifred Adams. And today we are talking about the depth of your lineage and what it means to unlock some of these coded numbers and why the quantum is revealing itself to us in this time frame also, and how you stay in that stasis during this time frame. So let's go back to the last sentence that I read to you out of The Family of Light, which is by Barbara Marciniak. And I encourage you all to go get that and read that, including The Bringers of the Dawn, okay? And all the books in that series are incredible. It's about this time. We're here. We've been here. I've been waiting for this, my God, since the 1990s. I'm so excited. So truth is where no secrets are kept. That is truth. Now, isn't it interesting that everything that's coming out today, and there's people out there called truthers, and there's people that are revealing the truth. Well, I don't think they have a lot of the truth. They have tidbits of popular culture narratives, but they don't have the truth. Some do, very few. But the truth really is coming from within you, in your experience and your experiential knowledge as you go through it and you feel the frequency shifting. Then things are revealed in that stillness that we talked about, in that 0 point. But to reserve judgment for a while, because the ego mind likes to hijack it. And we usually have a long way to go to settle the nervous system to get to that real, true, still point. So that's where healing and healers come in and so on. A healing occurs in the sharing of knowledge and in the revealing of secrets. And this is a time where ancient secrets are being revealed, secrets that maybe didn't even need to be kept if everyone were truly acting in the harmonic of God. But maybe the peoples also weren't trustworthy enough along the ages to honor the ancient sacred behavior or truths. Therefore, a few felt they needed to keep the secret, but then that became its own bastardization over time. Secrets are very hard to keep. They weigh a lot and are heavy and burdensome. Secrets are often the beginning of lies. One lie breeds another, and liars attract liars, and this is the nature of lies. On your world has not been shared as energy. It has been held in secrecy and based on lies. We ask you to consider that those in positions of power are really magicians of energy, whether they are self-willed and self-proclaimed or in total ignorance. Leaders are jugglers of energy. And knowing this, we ask each of you now to juggle your own energy. That's kind of what Russell was saying. Govern yourself. To know that energy is free around you, waiting for you to direct it. You are the conductor of a magnificent symphony of creation that will outperform everything that has ever been staged. Think about that. The ancient ones, the dragons, wait. They wait to be discovered, to return to Earth and reveal what they know without harming you. But you must create the frequency within yourselves to see them and to assist them to heal whatever schisms they have in their own family line. That is really true. Even though those that are, let's say, out of balance are harming others, there is no way to hate them in the truth of the reality. There is only a way to love them back to balance. And so what you see that you don't like out there, the more you hate it, the more you add to the imbalance. The more you love it and send love to it, the more the balance can happen again. It is not only you who must heal yourselves. All of existence is looking to be reconnected. What is healing, and how do you know when you are healed? A flow of energy accompanies a healing. I was just telling someone this last night who is lining up for very serious healing. A flow of energy accompanies a healing, like a goose with a golden egg. This flow of energy fills you with the confidence and faith to move forward. It is a connection to what you call spirit, a connection to all of existence. And healing, as we have mentioned, is reinterpreting what you believe happened to you. Your wounds start because of how you feel and because you hold such strong feelings. You have become afraid of your feelings, and your feelings are where you keep yourselves as prisoners. Suppressed feelings build and accumulate like a ball of yarn. They can block the flow of energy in your being, and sometimes the ball needs to be unraveled and rewoven into a meaningful pattern rather than blocking the flow. Energy is energy. It responds to your intent, or in this case, your volition, and to electrical impulses. Your power will grow rapidly as Earth gives her magnetic sigh, and as the magnetic field lessens its grip, and the elements in your periodic table begin to jiggle and dance, and molecules begin to speed up, opening new paradigms of experience to be discovered. Now, Russell-J. Gould, as far as I know, is the only human being on this planet that created a tetrahedron on a trilateral suspension as a periodic table. So what they just said here is speaking to this time. This was channeled information way back. Here it is. It's happening, and it's being revealed. Now that you have scaled the peaks, you know you must manage energy in order to design your future. We see various problem and probable futures, and time jumpers are very aware that at this point in time, a number of probabilities spring from Earth. Lots of different timelines. Many based on great manipulation and control. However, in those darked out areas and corridors where time jumpers cannot enter, only you who live there can use your golden opportunity to build the bridge, building it perhaps beyond the mere span of an age. From the peak, you can see that you have much more to consider. Take it easy on this journey, knowing you will always learn more, and that the more you learn, the more there is to learn. Be humble and give thanks as the force of existence responds to your gratitude. And frankly, I think that kind of sums it up. Here we are in this space and time, and they're saying that all these things are beginning to dance. Though there's multiple timelines and multiple outcomes, not all of them are suggesting a positive. But you in your management of your energy field and the stillness, and you connecting with your own spirit, you learning the truth of who you are from the inside out, this is the magnificence of what will build that bridge in this time frame. And Russell, being that person that, as it says here, as the magnetic field lessens its grip and the elements in your periodic table begin to jiggle and dance. How does that happen? I mean, it's just like complete poetry for what's actually happened. It's speaking of what's taking place right here, right now. And molecules begin to speed up, opening new paradigms of experience to be discovered. Molecules begin to speed up. It's a quickening of frequency, but it's also speaking a new language. And he's talking about it being able to be read forward and back. That's the quantum language, the real quantum language, not the bastardized version that may come out in the next possible manipulation and control timeline that's upcoming. So just know that J. Gould and his magnificent discoveries and his understanding of these things has laid down a foundation that speaks to this energy field, that speaks to this needing to manage oneself. And in that you find the fact, and in the fact you can have the healing, because the fact is not a secret. The fact is a fact, therefore it doesn't hold a lie, therefore it is truth, and it can be read forwards and back. So you are a living, vibrating, in a way, a hologram, but you're an atomic field of light particles of energy, and that atomic field is governed by a beautiful balance, and that balance is coming from all that is the power of God's source, of that more harmonized intelligence that dictates and accounts for every single living and non-living, animate and inanimate object everywhere. That's greater than just the earth plane. And that is taking into account all beings, as small as you can imagine to as large as you can imagine in galaxies and beyond, infinitesimally taking you into account every second of every day. So while you're worrying about red and blue, and your hair continues to grow on your head and your toenails continue to get longer, something is happening greater than your thinking. It might be to our advantage that we put more sincerity into the management of energy for the healing, so that we can meet the quickening of energy as it comes through. And when we do the quantum healing meditations, that's a way to learn stillness in self and begin to sink in, so the nervous system can let down and the spirit can be met. This is something that's very important. And in this time frame especially, we have an opportunity We have a grand opportunity. You came for this. You that are existing in 2023 came for this time. And to maybe step back and see the magnificence of what's happening around you in such a manner that you are not bound by it, but rather encouraged by it. That you take all that is happening for your highest good, and that it's really happening in concert with you. That it's happening on your behalf as a beautiful thing. And that organizational field knows exactly what you need, when you need it, and how you need it. And when we stop interpreting and holding all the stories that we tell ourselves in the biology and create disease or disharmony in the biology, when we are able to release those stories and come back to that beautiful, loving now hyphen space, but also that harmonic center of love that I've been talking about, when we come to that space, now we have an opportunity to tap into the experiential knowledge of the greater expansion in that moment, even going right down to the expansion of the molecular structure. That's what this quantum field is about, and that's what quantum healing is about. And when we get into that and you can see it, like I see it as a medical intuitive in a body, you begin to see how that is working together or not. And really in those places, there's no space for the thinking mind because it's of no help. The only thing which is 10,000 times more powerful than your mind is the open heart. And when the open heart comes into the fore, now the entire biology has a permission to change, and it interfaces with your spirit. And now you have healing. Thank you for listening, everyone. You're listening to Making Life Brighter. We'll see you next week right here on the Variety Channel and Making Life Brighter on Voice America. I'm your host, Winifred Adams, and you can find me on Facebook and YouTube under Making Life Brighter. Go jolly and go make someone else's life